Greetings from the archipelago, everybody. John Charles with you, Kaiwaza. Welcome back to my channel and to a video I haven't done in a long time, which is a Q&A, question and answer video. I have done some in the past, and it's been quite a while since I've done one. And before we get started, if you have any questions that you would like to ask me, doesn't matter about what. I'm a pretty open book, and if you ask something that's too much or I don't want to answer, I just won't answer it. I mean, like, that's okay. So if you want to submit any questions, let's say you can do so in the comment section below. Or if you don't want to do that, you'd rather submit them anonymously or whatever, you can do that at radiogreengoddess@yahoo.com. That's radiogreengoddess@yahoo.com, and you can submit questions if you would like to for future Q&A videos. And it's been so long since I've done one. I mean, you can look up my old ones, but I suppose it doesn't really matter if they're repetitive or you ask me something I've already answered. I mean, it kind of doesn't really matter, I guess. I still have the questions I never answered for the previous ones, and I didn't even look in here, so it's been so long, I really don't even know what's in here. So this is like Miss Universe pageant questions, where you're getting a question, you really don't know what it is, and just going with it. But like I said, I mean, I'm pretty open book. I'm not a lot I'm hiding or whatever. And there's maybe a few things I don't want to talk about publicly, but that would not many. I mean, off the top of my head, I don't really know what that would be. All right, let's go. Drawing out questions from my little plastic sandwich baggie. Okay, now I'm nervous. Cost of living in Hawaii and how do you make it work? Okay, yeah, Hawaii is a very expensive place to be. Honolulu, one of the most expensive cities in the United States. Real estate values are really high. The majority of the food is brought in because we don't grow most of what we eat here at all. We're not at all self-sufficient in terms of food. So those things are expensive, transportation, whatever. I've lived here since I was basically 18, 19. And the majority, I'm in a much better situation now than I have been in the past. But for the majority of all my working life, a very paycheck to paycheck, and you know, just scraping by the best you can, which is hard to do. You have to really want to be here to make that work, I think. Um, the things I've done always was to try and keep my rent as low as possible. I never, lived in some beautiful, glamorous place, whatever. They're always like cement brick tenement housing places for the most part. Pretty cheap as far as Hawaii goes. Um, and In the past, didn't eat out a lot, or ate out a little bit, but not a lot. I eat out a lot now. Uh, Whole other story, but I never had a car, and I still don't. I've never had a car, never owned a car in Hawaii. I've always used the public transit system, which is pretty darn good. And if that doesn't work, you use an Uber, taxi, whatever. But it bus passes have gone up. A monthly bus pass has gone up as quite a lot as I've lived here. It's now $80 a month, but you figure $80 for a month for unlimited transportation, you don't have to worry about paying for parking and car insurance and gas or whatever. It can be very expensive to have a car here, and sort of annoying because parking's really a problem everywhere you go, pretty much. So yeah, I pay $80 a month for a bus pass, and that's the end of that. And then I Uber, if I have to go somewhere else, Uber, taxi, whatever. If I'm in a rush or whatever, or I buy too much stuff, I don't want to carry it around, whatever. Uh, Farmers markets, Chinatown, generally speaking, is cheaper to go grocery shopping in Chinatown for a lot of things. at the mom and pop Chinese stores that have a lot of fresh vegetables and fruits, and they also have different kinds of canned things, and it's kind of cheaper to go there than to the regular grocery store. We do have Costco and Sam's now. We didn't always. Um, I don't use Costco because it's not it's far away from me, but there's a Sam's very nearby, and I do that. Uh, that's kind of worth it. I get my prescriptions there too. So what else? Let me see. Yeah, I mean, you learn the free things and the free entertainments, the free shows. Take advantage of those, and of course, the beach. You know, you're living in Hawaii, just going for a walk and going to the different beaches is a great way to cope with that. For me now, it's a little different. I mean, I do have income and investment income uh, and Social Security now coming in, and I only work a couple days a week, so you know it's different. But I still I live a very humble lifestyle. Thrift store shopping, that's the other thing. Always have done that, and I continue to do that because I just love it. Thrift store shopping. That's a great way to get clothing and other things, a lot cheaper than you would. And of course, now we have Ross and like TJ Maxx and those kind of places when you're on a budget are very helpful also because you can get some good deals there. So that's how you cope with it. But for many people, it's extremely difficult. I mean, there are people that work two, three jobs, barely scraping by. A lot of the work here is service industry work, so you're getting minimum wage or thereabouts. You're relying on tips. Please tip people when you go places. You're not going to make it otherwise. Okay, I think that answers that question. It's not as much of an issue for me as it was in the past, but I'm kind of a cheapy. I was kind of brought up that way to be somewhat frugal, and I'm still kind of that way just naturally, even when I don't need to be quite as frugal.
Hello. In this stress-filled world, perhaps what you need is a cup of delicious healing herbal tea or lovely parasite detox tea tincture. Or what might be of additional help is listening to the soothing and lovely natural music that you can hear on Radio Green Goddess on Live365.com. For there you will hear soothing, beautiful, soul-enriching music and sounds of nature to heal your mind and soul. It might not get rid of parasites, though, so maybe you should continue with that detox tea. But don't forget to tune in to Radio Green Goddess on Live365.com.
Favorite thrift store for record shopping? As you know, I buy a lot of records. uh, and I have 3 online radio stations from my record collections. My favorite thrift store for shopping in Hawaii, I guess we're asking. My favorite thrift store here. Well, it's changed over time. Um, because Goodwill used to carry lots and lots of records, and now the past several years are not carrying very many records, and it's very sporadic when they have them. Salvation Army, it's kind of sporadic when they have them. Sometimes it's a gold mine, and it's amazing, and then a lot of times there's really not anything. I would say with a lot of them, there's inconsistency now as far as having a sort of fairly regular incoming supply of vinyl records. Most of the thrift stores are sort of inconsistent. The one I go to most frequently would be Savers because they have a good senior discount day, 30%, and it's kind of close to my house now. It's one direct little 10-minute bus ride away, so that's great. So these days, probably Savers. Although I think what I really would mention is not exactly a thrift store, but it's a used book and record store, which is Ideas in the Kaka'ako Salt area of Honolulu. And what they do that's so wonderful is once a month they have something called the Room of Wonders, and it is a separated room from the book and record store, which is a very large book and record store. Um, but they have a room, about the size of my living room here, whatever, a little bit bigger. That is nothing but CDs and records, and the records are all $1, CDs are $2, and it's just a mishmash of everything, all different kind of genres, all different kinds of music in there, things that they have either duplicates of, or they're not, going to sell it in the regular store, or whatever. Room of Wonders, Ideas, Books and Music. If you're ever in Hawaii, look that up when they're going to be having that, because that's worth going to, and you do have to sign up for that. When they have it on a weekend, you have to reserve a time because they only allow like 3 or 4 people in there at a time. I don't exactly know why they do that anymore. They used to do it, they did it during COVID. You could only have like 3 people in the room at the time. But now that that's kind of over, I don't know why they don't just go to the Room of Wonders if you want. It doesn't really matter if there's 15 people in there. All right. What type of scents are your favorite? Bakery, fresh, floral. Um, they're talking about candles here, candles of wax melts, which I do a lot of and do some reviews of and empty videos of. One of my favorites, that's hard to say. I mean, off the top of my head, I would say tropicals, tropical scents, but I don't know. Is that really the most of what I end up burning and melting? I like a lot of different kinds of scents. Honestly, I do. I like bakery scents. Your all your pumpkin breads and your cinnamon rolls and muffin scents, and I really enjoy those. I like coffee scents. I don't melt them or get them very often because I drink a lot of coffee and I work part time in a coffee bar, and so I have coffee around a lot already. So I don't really need coffee scented candles, although I do like the way they smell. Uh, Florals, I'm probably not the most crazy about, although I do get floral scents sometimes. I like rose once in a while. Um, I don't mind florals mixed with things, but just a straight floral. I tell you what scent you know what I probably, now that I really think about it, rather than just saying tropical, my favorite scents probably as a group would be the beach scents, the scents that smell like suntan lotion, smell like copper tone, that have like coconut and uh, like an oceany scent and sand scent like to them, that just feel like you're putting on suntan lotion. Those is probably my single a favorite. Aside from pine, I love pine scents. I mean, like fresh balsam and yeah, and I can anything that's sort of pine scented. I do like that. All right. Do you have any good ghost stories? Oh my god, I do. Have I told you guys this? I don't know if I've talked about this before, but let me go ahead and tell you about this one. I was in South Carolina. I was going to Coker College in Hartsville, South Carolina. That's where I started my higher education. That's the town I was mostly brought up in. Uh, it was after my first year. It was summer session. I was not taking any classes in summer session. I also lived in that same town, so small liberal arts college. Well, it's much bigger now, but it was small liberal arts college at the time, and I lived in the town. Um, one of my good friends, was taking summer classes there, so I would, drop by and visit with him, and we would hang out and whatever. Uh, and there were stories at this college of a ghost called Madeline, who's who apparently, you know, what are we supposed to say? We can't say these words now. I don't remember, but she sent herself into the afterlife by hanging, I believe. I don't know. There were different stories. I mean, I have no idea. This is probably not true at all. But anyway, very old, story of this. She, I think, had an affair with a professor or something. This kind of a story. And so her ghost supposedly haunts the dormitories of Coker College, and every once in a while you might see her somewhere. I personally had never seen her. There were a few people that would claim to have seen her. Well, you know how these ghost stories are, right? I mean, who knows, right? Who knows? So, but everybody that goes there knew about Madeline. I mean, you knew about Madeline. So I was visiting my friend one evening, and this is the dormitories. Well, most of the buildings were very old at the time, very, very old, beautiful old buildings. And the dormitories, the cafeteria was in the middle, and then there was the old dormitories, and then connected to them was the newer dormitories. And there was a hallway that went all on the second floor, that went all the way down, connected all, it was a big open hallway, connected all those three buildings all the way down. So you could, be at one end and look and see way down that, when it came to the cafeteria was a huge, high ceilinged. It was just the cafeteria, but it was like 4 stories tall or something, really high ceiling with the big windows. Uh, it's very cool, very cool. And anyway, I was visiting him one evening, and we went to the soda machines, which were on the second floor of the building, to get a soda or something out of the machine. And I looked down, because you can look down the hallway, see all the way down, and I saw something really light and white and moving in the hallway, like a light, moving. And I was like, Mitch, what's that? I'm like, I don't know. Like, he could see it too. Like, I don't know what that is. Now, understand, during the summer session, the very few students in the summer sessions, and they're all staying in the new dormitory. So the cafeteria was not happening. The old dormitory completely empty, and these are big buildings. So there should have been nobody down there, nobody doing anything down there. Like, what is that? And I said, let's go look closer. Like, what is that? And we just kind of walked down the hallway more, because it was still way far away. We walked down the hallway more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Couldn't quite tell what it was, but there was definitely a light, a moving light form, orb thing in the hallway moving around. And we got to the cafeteria part just before the old dormitories. We were both like, okay, this is interesting. What is this? What is this? And we kept walking. And that's when it started to get really creepy, when we walked across the cafeteria part, because like I said, the cafeteria is this huge 4-story, like tall, open space, old building with those giant arched windows. It was nighttime. It was a windy night. We're holding on to the banister or the railing, walking across this elevated hallway to see this thing. Creepy moment, like you're kind of going, okay, this is starting to get like creepy. But let's keep going. And we got to the end of the cafeteria, so then the old dormitories began, and you could still see. You couldn't tell. It was the weirdest thing. Like, there was definitely a lighted, it looked three-dimensional, like a lighted thing, moving lights that were moving in the hallway, sort of like dancing or something. And then it kind of hit me at that moment, just before we got to the old dormitory. We're standing there in that archway, kind of on the side, looking in, and I'm like, Mitch, it's Madeline. I bet it's Madeline, like the ghost that everyone talks about. And that freaked him out. Like, totally. He was like, oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Let's go. Let's go. No, let's go away. Like, we got it. Let's go back. Let's go back. And I was the minute I thought it was Madeline, I had the immediate opposite reaction. I'm like, oh my gosh, Mitch, let's go. Let's go right up to it. Let's go right up to her. Like it's right there. Like it's only, I think at that time, probably, about 100 feet away, maybe. And it still was like, you couldn't tell exactly what it was. Let's go up to her. He's like, are you crazy? Are you crazy? And I'm like, no. I said, if it's real, I want to see her. I want to. I'm not afraid. I said, I want to walk right up into it. I want to walk right up to her, and maybe I can help her. Maybe I can say, hey, what do you need for me to do? What do you need for some peace, or give this lady peace, or whatever? You know, I want to see it. I mean, this is real. I want to walk right up to it. I want to see it. And I said, I'm going. And he's like, don't, I'm not going. Don't go. I'm not going. And I'm like, I'm going. And I just stepped right out in the middle of the hallway, and I'm walking kind of slowly, going a few steps at a time because it was so, I mean, I'm not lying. My heart was beating like crazy. And Mitch would be going, what do you see? He'd still be saying, what do you see? What do you see? And because I was getting closer and closer gradually, I'm like, I still can't tell. Like I'm almost here. It's light. It's moving. I it looks like it's standing in the middle, of the hallway. Like I don't know. I said, but I kept going. I'm going. And he would ask every couple, seconds or so as I was getting closer, like, what is it? Can you tell? What is it? What is it? My heart's going 1,000 miles. And I was almost on top of it. I mean, I swear I was like 7 or 8 feet away from it. And my heart is just racing. And I'm like, I can't tell what it is still. Like it was the weirdest thing, light like moving around, and I was like right in front of it, and I walked right up to it. And it wasn't until I was literally almost in it, like right up to it, that I could see what it was finally when I was that close. Um, the maintenance people, apparently one of their projects over the summer was to, this place had wooden floors. The old dormitories, beautiful old building, had wooden floors, and they had apparently polished or whatever, like all the floors on that floor. So in that hallway, the dorm room at the end, the dorm rooms that were at the end were very cool, the last ones, because they were bigger and they had windows like on two sides. And there was a big arched window at the end of the dorm room door was open because there was nobody in there. uh, the door was open. There's a big arched window right behind the doorway, um, one of those big arched windows. There was a tree with a branch, a large branch there, moving around. There was a street light next to the tree. So the street light was shining in. It was a windy night. This branch was moving, but because the floor had they just like redone these floors, and they were shiny AF. I mean, they were so shiny. Um, it was reflecting so much light, and it was bouncing like off the white walls with this branch moving, that it really was like this moving light. But it, until you were right on top of it, I could see when I was right on top of it, it was actually, on the floor and just sort of illuminating up. But when you stepped even just 2 or 3 feet away from it, it looked like it was literally like a three-dimensional thing in the hallway between the walls moving around. Um, so yeah, at that moment I stood there, and I was like, oh, I was so disappointed. I mean, my heart was racing, but I was like, oh, it's a light reflecting off of the glass outside. There's a branch. I'm like, come up here. Come on, Mitch, you can see it. Just come on up. And he did come up, and he was like, oh, yeah, wow. Like, that was my ghost story. Like, I really wanted to see it, and I thought I was going to see it, and I didn't. It was not a ghost. So, but that's my ghost story. I like that I kind of, I mean, I suppose it's stupid, but just like to approach it and be like, I want to, if this is the supernatural, if this is something real, if this is like, I want to see it. I'm not afraid. I want to see it face to face. Okay. One more question, I think. Are there, are there any Hawaiian records you want and can't find? Hmm. Yeah, because with our current day and age, back in the day, you never knew what was out there. You just, came across it in a store or a thrift store and be like, oh my gosh, I've never seen this before or whatever. But now, of course, with the internet and Discogs and all of these and videos and whatever, you do see things that you didn't know existed. And, do you want it? And I'm trying to think. I had one on my Grail list for quite a long time, which was the Waikikis. It's a group from Belgium, Hawaiian group from Belgium that I love, and they did a song. They did it was probably their last album, studio album, because they did a bunch, a lot, a dozen or so. Um, what was it even called now? I can't remember. In the mood, in the mood. I think with the Waikikis. Um, and somebody finally had it on Discogs at a reasonable price because I just never, not even at an unreasonable price, I just never saw it anywhere. Like I knew it existed, I'd seen it, couldn't, nobody was selling it, never showed up anywhere, probably not a lot printed of it, and probably wasn't super successful. So there's not a lot out there. But somebody finally had it, not, maybe like a year ago or so on Discogs at a very reasonable price, and I bought it. And that was kind of a holy grail for me that I had been looking for a long time. It was a little bit disappointing, to be honest with you. There's a couple songs on it I really like, but most of it wasn't quite up to the caliber that I come to expect from the Waikikis. But anyway, trying to think if there's something else. I don't know. I've seen a few things. I see a lot of things from Japan, Hawaiian records from Japan now that I don't have. I have some, but I don't have some of them, and some of them were not have material that was never released in the United States or in Europe. So it is unique to the Japanese market. Even some of the stuff recorded by Hawaiian artists in Japan. So I would say some of those. Maybe I just saw one called. I think it's called Golden Hawaiian Ukulele or something like that. Uh, by Gordon Mark. That kind of had me going like hmm, yeah, we don't have that one in the States, and it's Hawaiian artists on recorded in Hawaii but never released here, Japan only. There are some records like that, like I would love to have those. But yeah, I can't think other than that of like a specific album. No, it'd probably be something I have no idea exists that I'm going to come across in a thrift store somewhere. And I don't know if that'll ever happen. I don't know. All right, one more. Let's just do one more quick. Hopefully this will be a quickie question. Have I ever met a famous person? I have. If we're gonna like, okay, so I mean, I worked with the Miss Hawaii USA pageant committee for 20 years, and during the course of that, I have met, of course, title holders, some Miss Universe winners, etc., Miss USA's that I guess you could call famous. It sort of depends on the circles that you work in. So I'm kind of going to not count those because there have been several of those that I've met through the years. Uh, Pageant winners, big pageant winners. Uh, I've met Jason Momoa. I think I've mentioned this. Actually, kind of was through the pageant. The old directors of Miss Hawaii USA, who I used to also work with, kind of he was their sort of Hanai's son. They kind of got him started in the entertainment and modeling and everything industry. They kind of kick-started him and were his initial forays into the field. And he's always remained very loyal to them and would come back and visit and blah blah blah. with them, and we had a dinner. I think it was Christmas season one time that I went to with Jason Momoa. Um, yeah, who's very down to earth, and so I have met him. Oh, I met Bruno Mars. I This is funny. I don't know if I mentioned this. I was working at a coffee shop years ago, and here in Hawaii at the Outrigger Hotel and main Outrigger, and this guy comes in. I'm working with one other person in the morning, and I thought he was a guy that started working at the surf shop. There was a surf shop right across the hall from us, and those people would come in all the time and get coffee. And he looked like one of them, like a new one. He had little tags and things on, and I was like, oh, and I was just chatting with him because I totally thought he was a new surf shop guy, and I was just like, oh, how's things going? You guys busy? And he's like, yeah, no, we're kind of just hanging out right now. I said, yeah, same. We were really busy this morning, but kind of mellow now. We just talked about nothing, like blah 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 blah. Okay, cool. And he got his drink and he left. And my coworker was like, you know Bruno Mars? And I was like, no. Why do you say that? And they're like, that was Bruno Mars. And I'm like, that's not Bruno Mars. I didn't even really know what Bruno Mars looked like at the time. I didn't really follow popular music or whatever. I don't know. She's like, no, dude, that was Bruno Mars. He's staying in the hotel. Like, that was totally him. I'm like, oh, I thought Renee is some new guy at the surf shop, isn't it? It's like, no, that was Bruno Mars. And I don't care. I mean, I'm not phased by celebrity. I don't really care about it if somebody's like a celebrity. Or like, it doesn't. I don't care one way or the other about it really. And he did come back in, a couple more times when I was there, and it was the same thing. Like, well, I knew who he was at that point, but I didn't care. I was still like, yeah, how's it hanging? Like, you busy? And he would be like, I mean, one time when he came, he was like, yeah, I'm just his mom. I think his mom was still alive. And yeah, he was like, yeah, I'm going to visit my mom, spend a little family time today, whatever. And, you know, like that was funny. So yeah, I guess I met Bruno Mars. Didn't really know it. Okay, that's it for today. I still have more questions. I'm just too chatty. So, anyway, like I said, if you have more questions and you want to submit them to me, you can do it in the comment section below, or you can submit them to radiogreengoddess@yahoo.com. And we'll take it from there. So, thanks for watching, and check out my radio stations if you want to. I have 3: Radio Green Goddess, Moody Mood Music, Hawaiian Hi-Fi. They're all on live365.com. Yeah, I also have a Buy Me a Coffee if you feel like buying me a coffee, which is lovely. That'll be down below also. So you guys have a good day, and we'll talk to you guys in the next video, which probably will be a quickie. Time for a quickie, cutting room floor, probably, of Cheap Lounge. All right, we'll talk to you later.